Internal Revenue Service IRS Tax News. IRS Security Summit partners warn tax professionals on scams, urge additional security measures to protect taxpayer data. IR 2020-71, April 14th, 2020, Washington. The Internal Revenue Service and its Security Summit partners today urged tax professionals to take additional security steps immediately to protect taxpayer data as more practitioners, telework, and security risks increase. The IRS, state tax agencies, and the nation's tax industry continue to see an upswing in data thefts from tax professionals as cybercriminals try to take advantage of COVID-19 and economic impact payments to create new scams. Quote, identity thieves view the pandemic as a chance to exploit tax professionals as well as taxpayers, end quote, said IRS Commissioner Chuck Rettig. Quote, they are using every trick of their criminal trade to con people as well as steal valuable personal and financial information to help enable tax-related identity theft. In many ways, tax pros are one of the first lines of defense. We urge the entire tax community to take additional steps and protect their sensitive data, end quote. And obviously that's going to be a big concern right now. So anytime there's going to be more stimulus packages that are coming from the government, then that's going to clearly incentivize identity theft and other kind of things to come up. So that's just the way it is. So at this point in time, really need to be even more sensitive than normal to the types of identity theft, the phishing kind of things that can go on, and all that kind of stuff. Back to the text. The partners in the Security Summit, including the IRS, state tax agencies, and private sector tax industry, continue working closely together to watch for new threats during the coronavirus. In addition, IRS Criminal Investigation is actively working to combat scam artists trying to exploit economic impact payments and other provisions related to coronavirus. So far, the scams CI has already seen look to prey on vulnerable taxpayers who are unaware of how the payments will reach them. So obviously, if you don't have a good concept of how the payments are going to come through and actually get to you, then that's going to be a point that someone who's trying to put a scam together can take and see if they can redirect that type of information. Back to the text. IRS CI is prioritizing these types of investigations to help protect taxpayers and the tax system. Tax pros use a virtual private network for extra security. All tax professionals who are teleworking should be using an encrypted virtual private network or VPN. A VPN provides a secure encrypted tunnel to transport data between a remote user via the internet and the company network. Cybercriminals can exploit various weaknesses, whether by using a phishing email or an unsecure network, to gain control of a tax professional's computer. Once they have remote control, they can either steal data or complete and file client tax returns, but change the bank account information for refunds. So obviously the big fear is with tax professionals actually getting access, one, to sensitive information, but if you actually have access to the computer and the software being used to send in the tax returns, then if they can actually manipulate the software, then they can possibly change the routing numbers to where this payments will be sent to. And so that's one thing to be careful of course. Back to the text. The government cannot recommend a VPN provider, but tax professionals can ask trusted colleagues to search for best VPNs to find legitimate vendor. Major technology sites often provide lists of top services. Never fall for pop-ups, quote, on websites for VPN or any kind of security software. Those generally are all scams. So in other words, if you're looking for a VPN provider and your source of where to go for that VPN provider comes from a pop-up that happened when you're browsing websites or whatnot, probably not the best, most reliable source to search for your VPNs. You want to go to a more credible source in order to see which VPN would be the best for you. Multi-factor authentication helps protect data. This year, most tax software providers for tax professionals and for taxpayers are offering the option of multi-factor authentication. Security Summit partners urge the use of this option. Multi-factor authentication means a return-in user to the software product must enter not only their credentials, username, password, but also a security code generally sent as a text to a mobile phone. The idea is the thieves may compromise login credentials, but it is unlikely they will have stolen the mobile phone as well. So we've got that kind of two-component type of verification. So most software, most high-quality software that CPA firms will use require basically the login now, of course. And now that you could have a two-factor type of identification as well, which could be that added level of security. Back to the text. Multi-factor authentication provides the software account from being breached or from client data being stolen. Tax professionals should activate this feature immediately. Avoid phishing scams. Identity thieves have stepped up phishing scams efforts to capitalize on COVID-19 and economic impact payments. Crooks are targeting tax professionals as well as taxpayers. Tax professionals should be aware of emails from criminals posing as potential clients. As people public social security distancing these days, let's read that again. As people practice social distancing these days, criminals may exploit this process to try to trick tax practitioners into opening links or attachments. For example, crooks may present themselves as a new client and ask the practitioner to view the wage and income information they have on an attachment. So obviously, the phishing is going to be a bigger thing at this point in time because most people that may not be as used to working online more are now working online more, and therefore there's going to be transactions that will be different than they're used to in the past, and that could be an opportunity for people to basically send phishing scams, which in the past they would not deal with because they might interact in some separate way. Obviously, anything that's going to download an attachment, that's one of the things that you want to be careful of. That's one of the phishing type of tactics that would be out there. So they're going to impose or pretend they're somebody else and then have something that would be downloadable once you download the email. So that's something to be careful of. Back to the text. The Security Summit reminds tax professionals of simple steps to remember. Know your customers. Use the phone to confirm identities and don't take the bait. Thieves also seek to impersonate tax software providers, cloud storage providers, banks, and others. Remember, phishing emails generally have an urgent message, i.e., your account password expired, and direct you to a link or attachment. So obviously, they could impersonate anyone. They could impersonate the bank and other kind of key software areas that would be normally seem like a normal type of thing for the tax professional. And of course, then they're going to put in place also some sense of urgency into it, which is going to make you just want to click solve the problem immediately, which will make you go right to it. So usually when that kind of thing happens, if it's from the bank or software provider, of course, if you can slow down and not click on the thing and then go to the actual software provider themselves. So if it was like your bank, then obviously you don't really want to click the link. You'd like to go to the bank itself and then ask them directly rather than going through the email link to ask the bank. In any case, back to the text. Taxpayer can report suspicious email posing as the IRS to phishing mailbox at phishing@irs.gov. So that link is here. So there'll be a link to this in the description. Watch out for IRS impersonation scams. The IRS will not call, email, or text anyone about economic impact payments. So clearly this is going to be a new kind of thing that's going to be out there. The economic impact payments, there's going to be a sense of urgency that they send out these type of things that are going to be saying, most likely, you can imagine this to be happening, right? This is something with relation to the economic impact payments. You got to call us immediately and give us this information if you want your money and whatnot. Give us, sensitive information. You can see that will clearly be a tactic that will probably be out there and is at this point. So back to the text. These are impersonation scams by thieves seeking to steal bank accounts or other sensitive data. Do not fall for these scams. So in other words, again, if anybody asks, they're saying specifically here, if anybody calls and asks the tax professional, I got this thing, someone's saying they're the IRS will not call, email, or text anyone about economic impact payments. So if there was a call, email, or text about economic impact payments, that is asking for specific information, it's not the IRS. Back to the text. Don't forget security software. Everyone, especially all tax professionals, should be using broad-based security software to protect not just their computers but mobile phones as well. Security features will help identify and stop potentially dangerous malware that can infect digital networks. For more help, the IRS and the Security Summit partners urge tax practitioners to review the security measures outlined in publication 4557, Safeguarding Taxpayer Data. There's a PDF link here. You can find a link to this in the description.